my rented apartment. It was a long time ago. At the beginning of the 2000s, I graduated from school in one of the villages of the vast Buryatia, and the choice to go to the institute fell on Irkutsk. We went with a friend of the girl Christina, with whom we are still friends, in order to rent a house together. The dorm option was somehow not considered at all. For a couple of years, we wandered through different rented rooms and apartments together. In the third year, before the New Year holidays, the question of a new place of residence arose. We found a chic option, a 2-bedroom apartment, inexpensive. True, it is far from the place of study. Both mine and my friends, we studied at different institutes. In order to make it even cheaper for us, they invited Christina's classmate, Tanya, to live with us. The apartment, as I already said, was a 3-room apartment, but we occupied only 2 rooms. The third one contained the owner's agent. Tanya took a small room, and Christina and I took a large one. The weirdness started as soon as we checked in. The dishes rattle in the kitchen when we are together in the room and no one else is in the apartment. Then, I'm sorry, you're sitting in the toilet, and someone knocks on the door, gently, as if with your knuckles. You shout that you are going out now, thinking that the girls want to go to the toilet. You go out, you see their surprised eyes, and the words that they did not knock. They were not jokers, so I know for sure that if they said that they were not, then they were not. And a couple of times it was quite creepy. I go to bed, close my eyes and feel that someone is looking at me intently, standing next to the bed. I open my eyes, no one. I've never felt this way before or since. This went on for about a month. And now, the long-awaited New Year holidays. I usually went home to my parents at this time. But that year I had a boyfriend, and I wanted to celebrate the New Year together. Christina and Tanya went home, and I was left alone in the apartment. It was, of course, very uncomfortable, so I decided that I would either invite someone to spend the night with me, or not spend the night in the apartment myself. We successfully celebrated the New Year with friends and my boyfriend, at his home. The next day, it was decided to go to continue celebrating in my rented apartment. The 3 of us went, me, my friend Tanya, popular name, and her boyfriend Seryoha. My boyfriend couldn't go with us. I honestly don't remember why, whether it was necessary to go to work, or something else. They came to my neighborhood, walked through the snow-covered streets, lay in the snow, what can you say, bought a beer and went home. I will tell you a little about the layout of the apartment. As you go in, there was a kitchen straight ahead, a small corridor to the right, and from it directly there was my room with Christina. And immediately you could see my sofa. It was always laid out, and a wooden shelf for books hung above it. Lying on the sofa, I calmly reached the shelf with my hand. In general, sometimes I thought if it would fall on me in my sleep. To the left in the corridor was the door to Tanya's room. On that day, my sofa was covered only with a blanket. I don't remember if I had a blanket at all. In general, we sat down to celebrate in the kitchen. Seryoha had quite a bit of old yeast, he wanted to sleep. We put him in the small room, closed the door, and continued to sit in the kitchen, chatting. My phone was dead. At the time there was a piece of wood. There was no free outlet in the kitchen. I had to turn it on for charging in a large room. And since I corresponded periodically with my boyfriend, when I heard the sound of the CS coming, I ran into the room. And then, once again, I run into the room and out of the corner of my eye I notice that something is wrong on my sofa. Coming closer I see that the blanket is attached to the edge of a wooden shelf with something. I move even closer, and the blanket comes off and floats smoothly back onto the couch. I see that it was attached to the shelf by a power button, which was left lying right there on the blanket, which we did not have in our apartment at all. Honestly, now it all seems absolutely not terrible, and then the hair began to move on my head. I called my friend, told her it was scary for both of us. She was aware of all the strange things that happened to us in this apartment. We ran to Wixarioha, shouting at him that he had decided to play a trick on us. But firstly, we barely woke him up, and secondly, well, he would not have thought of joking like that, and the joke is not particularly funny. In short, I said that I refused to spend the night here. In the end, we went to a friend's house. Until the end of the holidays, I spent the night with a friend, then with a guy. When the girls arrived, I went back to the apartment. My studies began, and my normal, measured life began. All the oddities in the apartment stopped, just abruptly, just like there was nothing. And only 6 months later, we learned that my grandmother died in this apartment. The apartment was immediately rented to us. And it turns out, all the oddities passed after 40 days after death. Well, this is according to our approximate calculations. I've never had such stories happen to me again. And thank God. Do you believe that the human soul remains in our world for another 40 days? Author of this story, Lenotka.